The moment that really caught my attention this week wasn't during Leonor's official speech. It happened afterward. A palace aide leaned in to whisper something to her right before she walked toward the military officers, and for a split second, Leonor's entire expression softened. Not the formal royal smile. Not the trained public face. A real reaction. And honestly, that tiny moment told me more about her life than the actual ceremony did. Because it reminded me of something people forget when they talk about Princess Leonor. For someone constantly surrounded by crowds, cameras, guards, politicians, and expectations, her real circle is probably incredibly small. Like painfully small. And the deeper I think about it, the more fascinating her inner circle becomes. Because when your future role is literally tied to the stability of a monarchy, trust stops being emotional luxury. It becomes survival. And honestly, I don't think most people realize how lonely that kind of life can become. If you're new to Leonor's story, subscribe. I post every day. Because I genuinely think the most important story around Leonor right now isn't actually about who she's dating. It's about who she allows close enough to see the version of herself the public never gets to meet. And that's a huge difference. See, royal watchers love focusing on appearances. The uniforms, the ceremonies, the rumored relationships. But I've started noticing something else entirely. The people around Leonor rarely change. That's important, because in royal systems, consistency usually means trust has already been heavily tested behind closed doors. And honestly, I think Leonor has already learned one of the hardest lessons about public life very early. The more visible you become, the fewer people you can genuinely trust. That sounds dramatic, but look around. Modern fame destroys privacy fast. Royal fame destroys normality completely. And unlike celebrities, royal heirs can't simply disappear for 6 months and reset their image whenever they want. Every relationship becomes political eventually. Friendships, romances, even casual interactions, everything becomes interpreted through the lens of the crown. That's why I think Leonor's inner circle matters more than the headlines people obsess over. Because those are the people shaping the emotional environment around Spain's future queen. And honestly, I think Queen Letizia is still the center of that circle more than anyone realizes. You can see it in the way Leonor carries herself publicly. The discipline, the media awareness, the controlled emotional energy. That doesn't happen accidentally. And here's my hot take. I think Letizia may actually be one of the most influential royal mothers in Europe right now, not because she's loud, but because her survival instincts seem deeply embedded into how Leonor now operates publicly. Think about it. Letizia entered royalty from outside the aristocratic system. She understood media pressure before joining the monarchy. She knew exactly how quickly narratives could become dangerous. That experience probably changed how Leonor was raised completely. And honestly, I think Spain's monarchy benefited from that. Because while older royal systems often raised heirs inside emotional bubbles, Leonor feels unusually aware of modern media psychology for someone her age. Very aware, almost strategic. And this is where comparisons to Prince William and Catherine become interesting again. William grew up inside the institution from birth. Leonor grew up watching both the institution and the media from two different angles through her parents. That creates a different kind of emotional intelligence. And I think it explains why Leonor rarely looks caught off guard publicly now. Even during uncomfortable moments, that level of control usually comes from very tight guidance behind the scenes. Which brings me to another person I think quietly matters more than people realize. Her sister, Sophia. Honestly, I don't think enough people talk about how psychologically important that relationship probably is. Because imagine growing up in a world where almost everyone around you has some level of institutional responsibility tied to your existence. Advisors need to protect the monarchy. Security protects the heir. Staff protect the image. Politicians protect stability. But siblings, that's different. That's usually the closest thing royals have to emotional normality. And every time Leonor appears more relaxed publicly, Sophia often isn't far away emotionally from the situation somehow. I notice those details. The body language changes. The tension drops slightly. The formality softens. That tells me trust exists there naturally, not institutionally. And honestly, that may become one of the most important emotional anchors in Leonor's life long term. Because history shows royal heirs who become emotionally isolated usually struggle later under pressure. That's why inner circles matter so much. Not politically, psychologically. And here's where I think modern monarchy becomes really dangerous emotionally. The higher Leonor rises publicly, the harder it may become to know who genuinely likes her versus who likes proximity to the crown. That's a terrifying reality when you think about it deeply. Imagine constantly wondering, if I wasn't the future queen, would this person still be here? That kind of doubt can reshape someone over time. And honestly, I think that's why Leonor's circle appears so controlled now. Very selective, very measured, not cold, protective. Because modern royal life isn't just about avoiding scandals anymore. It's about protecting mental stability in a world where everyone wants access. And social media made that infinitely worse. Years ago, royal privacy was threatened mainly by newspapers. Now, every stranger with a phone can become part of the narrative instantly. That changes trust completely. And honestly, I think someone like Mr. Beast unintentionally explains modern royal strategy better than some political commentators do. Hear me out. Mr. Beast understands audience attachment through emotional continuity. People stay invested because they feel like they know the creator personally over time. Modern monarchies are adapting to a similar reality now. The public wants emotional access to Leonor. Not full access, just enough to feel connected. That's why the palace occasionally allows those tiny human moments through a laugh, a tired expression, a sibling interaction, a relaxed reaction during military training. Those moments create emotional loyalty. But they also create danger. Because once audiences feel emotionally connected to royal figures, curiosity intensifies dramatically. Suddenly people want deeper access, more personal information, more authenticity, and that pressure can become suffocating. Which is exactly why Leonor's trusted circle probably matters more now than ever before. Because she needs spaces where she's not performing constantly. Honestly, I think that's one of the hidden tragedies of royal life people romanticize too much. The crown attracts attention, but attention slowly consumes ordinary relationships. And I wonder if Leonor already feels that tension privately sometimes. Like, does she ever question whether future friendships will remain genuine once her role grows even larger? That thought honestly feels sad to me. Because she's entering adulthood under conditions almost nobody can emotionally relate to. And yet, despite all that pressure, I've noticed something fascinating recently. Leonor increasingly looks more confident around carefully chosen people. That matters. Confidence usually grows when trust exists consistently in the background. And honestly, I think the palace understands something very important now. The emotional stability of the future queen may become just as important as her public image. That's a major shift from older royal systems. Older monarchies often prioritized duty over emotional health entirely. Modern monarchies can't afford that anymore. Audiences are too emotionally observant now. People notice exhaustion, isolation, tension, and once the public senses emotional instability around royal figures, narratives spiral quickly online. That's why I think Leonor's support system is probably being protected more aggressively than most people realize. Not just for her personally. For institutional survival. Because the monarchy understands something modern leadership culture is finally starting to admit openly. Burnout destroys performance. And future monarchs are human beings before they become symbols. That's why Leonor's inner circle fascinates me more than any dating rumor, honestly. Because those are the people influencing how she emotionally survives this transition from princess to future queen. And transitions like that change people forever. Especially when the entire country watches every stage happen in real time. Which brings me to one final thought I honestly can't stop thinking about lately. Maybe the real measure of Leonor's future success won't just be how well she performs publicly. Maybe it'll depend on whether she manages to keep a small group of people around her who still treat her like a normal human being underneath the crown. Because history shows something very clearly. Royal heirs who lose genuine emotional grounding often lose themselves slowly without realizing it. And the more I watch Leonor now, the more I think Spain's monarchy may finally understand that protecting the future queen emotionally is just as important as protecting the institution itself. Which honestly, might be the smartest royal strategy of all in 2026.